All right, we're going to talk about your kit. This may or may not be the water basin you have in your kit. It is actually meant to be pushed out to be used like a water bucket. It holds more water that way, and that way when you rinse your brushes out, everything gets diluted very far and you don't get a lot of transfer of colors. So it works really well, and then when you go to store it, you can pop it back down. It works really well. This is the palette that is included in your kit. This is the way it comes. Now I know this one's pretty messy, but what I did is I glued hot glue sticks to my palette so that as I'm mixing, my trays everything doesn't flow together, and that gave me more areas to mix my colors. So I would recommend you do something like that. You can try it out first and see if you like it the way it is, and if not, then you can add those to it. It does actually have 2 mixing trays. You can pull that out so you can use all of these surfaces. I just very seldom remember to pull that out, so I just use it in there the way it is. Now, in your kit you also have some paints. You basically have the primary colors and a dark. You may or may not have this exact brand, but that's I like using professional colors because they work better. There's no reason to fight the paint. That's one reason why I like using professional paper as well, as there's no reason to fight everything. Now, when you get your paints and you're ready to fill your palette, you notice we're starting with this primary palette, so those of you who are advanced watercolors that already have your paint, it might be a good idea for you to just tape off your extra wells that you have filled so that you're just using your primaries. That will really help you to be really good at mixing color and color theory. Now when you go to fill your paint, what I'm going to do is I like to set these where I want them. I'm going to put my sepia over here. I'm going to put my yellow over here. And I'm going to put the red and the blue like this so that I can have some space in between when I want to add some other colors. When you fill your well, fill it not with just a little daub, because then you'll end up with a dry little daub and water goes around it and it will kind of chip off and go away. But it also is much more difficult to work with. Fill your well like this. You're not using all of this watercolor in one sitting. It will take you a lot of paintings to use that. But when it dries up, it's not a problem, because then you'll come to each time you go to paint, you'll re-wet it, and I'll show you that as well. So again, I'm going to show you a different view in case that's a little bit easier for you to see. You're filling it up. You basically just kind of want to give it a nice level pool of paint. And then you're just going to let that dry so that when you're ready to paint, you're not dipping into big goopy puddles. If I went to paint with this right now, I'd get way too much paint on my brush. So I'm not going to paint with this just yet, but I am going to show you the rest of the supplies. And you know, sometimes the paint dries on it, and because it's water-based, you can just get it wet, and then you can pull that cap off. Now, the brushes. I only have 2 brushes in the kit, and that is simply so that you can get used to these brushes and really start to really work your brush hand. If you rely on teeny tiny brushes all the time, you forget to use the big brushes, and sometimes they give you really nice strokes. So you're going to have a 1-inch flat brush, and you're going to have this brush. When you are using your brushes, don't leave them in your containers or in your water like this. You can see that it bends them. So, and you don't want to bend them. Oh, baby's ready for grandma here. So you don't want to bend those. Keep them out, just rinse them in your water, and they should be good to go. I'll give you instructions if you really need to wash those brushes. Now I'm going to show you, this is my old palette, and you can see everything is dried in here. When I'm ready to paint, I just take my squirt bottle, and I just squirt it to moisten. And then I start getting my stuff ready, and by the time I'm ready to paint, it's ready to go. So you should be good with that. You'll need pencils and eraser. You might want a ruler, but give yourself a container to put it in. I actually stuck some foam rubber in here so I could add brushes, and then it will keep them from getting ruined in my container when I transport them. So find a way to transport them if you need to, so that they won't get ruined. If you're keeping them at home, you can keep them flat this way, or if they're dry, you can keep them upright. I actually don't usually like to do that. I prefer to store them flat so that water doesn't stay pulled into the ferrule. So I like storing them this way, so even when I'm at home, this is the way I store them, so I can put them in a cupboard and I know they won't get damaged.